in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. You're here for the first time. As you're here for the first time, what brings you here?
I'm doing some recovery-related work and reading some about Buddhism.
Nice. What'd you read so far? Anything you like?
Radical Acceptance and a couple of other books.
Tara Brock's wonderful.
Yes.
Have you been on like her YouTube stuff or anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
Yeah, she's great. For those who don't know, Tara Brock, B-R-A-C-H, tons of YouTube like meditation talks and everything. Yeah, and that was, I don't know if that was her first, I feel like that was her first big book, Radical Acceptance. She's been around a while, but there's another one she can, Radical something, I feel like.
Compassion.
There you go. Thank you. Look at you all. So sweet. Yeah. So yeah, also good. Thank you. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, just doing PT and saw an open door to a church and do it.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Well, glad you're here. Thanks. Welcome. Somebody else? Yeah.
New to the neighborhood and looking for a place to meditate.
Nice. New to San Diego or just the neighborhood?
Yeah, both.
From where?
Portland, Oregon.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, welcome to San Diego. It's a decent place. There's probably like, do you live in University Heights? Yeah, there's like within 10 miles of here, probably 30 places to go meditate. And I strongly recommend checking out all of them. 5 of them are really strange and weird, but the other 25, you're pretty safe. And this is definitely in the 5 range. But no, but San Diego is really like brand new to San Diego.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks.
About last year or so.
Okay, yeah. San Diego has so much meditation, Buddhist stuff. It's really, really beautiful. Because there's so many different types of people, and we like so many different types of things. And same thing with meditation and Buddhist stuff. We draw to things differently. So definitely encourage, if you haven't already, you can Google meditation, Buddhism, San Diego, and go to all of them. We're really, I think, fortunate to have that here, which is cool. Anybody else, first time? Yeah, hi.
I'm here with them, same one.
Nice, right on. Well, it's then the same response. Glad you're here. All right, so we'll start with the meditation practice. And to those virtually, welcome. Glad you're here as well. Feel free to say hello as you are. There's a chat box somewhere on your screen. When we get to questions, you can put them there also. But for those who might be sitting here for the first time or just sitting in general, a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working, or is it not working, are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit, we're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps slide to the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Same thing if you're on a bench or chair. Just trying to sit up straight, relax the shoulders. Hands can be on the knees or lap, whatever's comfortable. If you need to move, simply move. Movement doesn't make you a bad meditator, just means you need to move. If you are brand new to meditation, it's important to understand you're not going to shut off your mind. Your mind will not stop racing. You're not going to think nothing. It will not go blank. It will continue to race. I will say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought and bring you back to present moment, or wake you up because you've just fallen asleep. I will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. Start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice, just sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else, for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, but began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way we responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how we respond to every other 20-minute period of our day. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. Meditation is direct perception into the present moment. And the present moment, as we know all too well, is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. Meditation is not escaping from all of those. It's being able to sit with them and understand them as they arise. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in every moment. This is the practice. We spend so much time trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us. And this practice is setting that down and becoming aware of our thoughts, our minds, our reactions as life happens. And when we do this, we work on surrendering this idea of control that so many people have in their lives. Hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they do this, wishing they do that. So much time focused on the thoughts and words and actions of others. And this is coming back to, again, your thoughts, your words, and your actions. This is what the Buddha called karma. Karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma is not getting what you deserve, or they're going to get what's coming to them. That is not karma. Karma is what we bring into the world. It literally means action. And the Buddha taught we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, mind, thoughts, words, and physical actions. That's it. So that's the practice every moment. It doesn't change. It doesn't get more complicated than that. Our minds like to make everything complicated. Don't make Buddhism complicated. It's really simple. Be nice to yourself and everybody else. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really prefer to respond to questions meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And for those joining virtually, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Feel free if you have any questions. I just want to say hello. You can put them in the chat box there. I'll do my best to respond. And we'll use the rest of our brief time for questions.
So one of the scariest things I hear you say, terrifies me to death, is I have nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. And it's like, I'm one of those people that devil doesn't work for idle hands. So do you develop with not having something to do? But also it seems like no matter what you believe, this life is fairly short. And so, I've got nothing else to do and nowhere else to go, and we're not maximizing this life. And so, if the megalomaniacs and the oligarchs don't completely destroy my 401k, I'm supposed to retire in about 12 months. And I am terrified of that day. And I go, it's Monday morning, and it's 8 a.m., and I have Monday morning, and nowhere else to go, and nothing else to do. And so, getting all of that in my head, and again, obviously I'm living in the future, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, because 12 months is a long ways away. You don't even know.
Yeah, so
I mean, we don't even know you're going to wake up tomorrow. Right?
And I know people who haven't.
There are millions of people right now that will not wake up tomorrow. Yeah, but go ahead.
Nothing else to do, and yet life is short. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Balance that.
Sure. So the question, great question, just to paraphrase briefly for those virtually didn't hear, the question is around how I always say, we started out by saying the thing I always say that terrifies you is nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. And then I follow that by saying everything beautiful just as it is. So your struggle is with planning for the future and your fear of having nothing to do and planning for the future, balancing that with this idea of nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. So let me start by putting it this way. When I say nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be, it does not mean that the rest of your life you're not going to do things. So let's just start there. So, you've been around here long enough for me to say, I think your interpretation of what I'm saying is not the same as the intention of what I mean it by. Does that make sense? When I say nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be, in this moment, right now, which just still applies for you, because as you went on to ramble on about all the stuff that you're terrified of, this applies to you even more, because you're not okay just sitting still. That's not enough for you. You must be saving the world and maximizing your 401k every moment, or your life is a complete piece of shit in your head. She's nodding yes, just for those at home who can't see the witness, right? So that's the problem. The problem is right there, that you think if you're not doing something, then everything is terrible. That's why you're here. Meaning, I don't mean physically here. Well, I know, but I didn't want to say it like that, right? That's why you're into this practice, because your practice is to learn to just be okay for a few moments doing nothing. You will burn yourself out trying to save the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I say nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be, very specifically in that moment, what I'm talking about is as we finish a meditation, there's nothing else to do right now. Just sit and just breathe. There's nowhere else to go right now. Just sit and just breathe. And there's no one else to be right now. Just be you. But so much of our lives is spent thinking, we got to go somewhere else. We got to do something else. We got to be someone else. And we push and we push and we push. And then we end up here on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Because that method didn't work for us. Right? And I am, I'm talking about myself here because I'm the fool sitting here doing this year in and year out. Still trying to understand. Nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Can we just be okay for a few moments sitting and breathing? And all the stress and anxiety and fear and panic that the entire room felt with your question, maybe for a few moments could just fall away. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. Not that you're not going to do things the rest of your life. But the reality is, the truth is, we don't know. If we wake up tomorrow, if we wake up next week, if we wake up next year. We don't know. Did you ever possibly ponder that the future might even be better? Don't even answer this question. Okay, answer the question. I wish you could all see her right now. Right? It was literally this. So the idea, like you don't even think that the future, things could work out so much better than you even imagine.
And honestly, the course of my life, it has exactly been that.
Right.
Because I started, I'm a recovering alcoholic and all the things that come with it. So yes.
Yeah. So you're
came out much better.
Absolutely. So I think that that's really important. I'm not suggesting that we're never going to have fear or anxiety or worry about the future. That's foolish for me to sit here and actually think that somebody's going to meditate and all of a sudden stop worrying about the future. But we could worry about it a little bit less. And if you are going to think about the future, again, you just gave proof to the fact that your life has actually worked out better than you probably X amount of years ago thought it would. Yet you sit here today thinking not that the future is not going to be better. The future will be better than this moment and worse than this moment. And all of the above. The challenge is, can we be okay with that as it arises? Because whether we're okay with it or not doesn't change how it is. It only changes our reaction to it. So, but very specifically back to your question, does that kind of clarify for you what I mean when I say that?
And I'm getting there. When I first heard it,
Yeah.
I took it more literally than
Sure.
I do now.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I still struggle with that. I don't want to waste the life.
Sure.
I don't want to keep projecting in the future, which
Mm.
of course I do. And I do want this calmness that hopefully absorbing the true meaning of what you're saying.
Yeah, understood. And I get the idea of not wanting to waste your life, but without getting too much into personal stuff, that's really just a story you've built up in your head about what you think your life is supposed to be. As if this idea of certain things mean it's wasted, I mean, I've been at this practice every day for 22 years. I can still watch Netflix for 2 hours a day, and I don't feel like I'm wasting my life. That's just my own personal experience. Some might think that as you get on some spiritual journey, you get further along, and that you're like that every single moment has to be saving the world, right? Watching Netflix for 2 hours? Wonderful. Again, that's just my experience, right? I don't feel like I'm wasting my life because of that. I think it's important to find for all of us, really, in Buddhist teachings around balance and middle path, to see what in your life is out of balance. Where could you find more balance? Where can you take care of yourself? Where can you take care of others? And to not, again, I'm not even talking to you specifically here, but to not feel like there's this level that we have to achieve or attain that means we're living this perfect life. For many people, I think this idea of a perfect life is actually the reason so many people suffer, because they have an idea of how they think their life is supposed to be. And I've yet to meet anybody who actually thinks their life has gone how they thought it would go. It just doesn't, right? And I also want to comment briefly on this idea of, kind of your comment around, idle hands and the devil and things like that. My first teacher, the Buddhist nun, she said to me, busy is the best nutrition. So again, tying back to the question, nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be, she wasn't saying, and this is very often a misconception of Buddhism, she wasn't saying just go sit under a tree the rest of your life. but be mindful of your intention. Meaning, if I wasn't doing things at that time, my mind would go to things that were unhealthy for me and everybody else. And so what she said was stay busy, but stay busy doing things that are beneficial to yourself and others, that are coming from a place of love and kindness and compassion, not from greed, anger, and ignorance. So staying busy, again, I'm the one who says that day in and day out, but I stay incredibly busy. It's hard work watching Netflix for 2 hours. It takes a lot of focus. No commercials, you can't get up and go pee. It's really hard. So, yeah. There's a comment here. Yeah, also anxious about pending retirement. I hear you. I mean, everybody's anxious about something. And regardless of, very often, and this isn't, Vince, directly to your question, but very often people ask questions like, well, things are harder these days. I've been listening to people say the phrase these days forever. So are these days harder? Were the days 10 years ago harder? Are the days 5 years ago good? Like there's always going to be something. Always. If you weren't worried about the retirement, you'd be worried about something else. You'd fill that space and time and worry with something else. So yes, I understand the anxiety, the fear is there. And for many people in certain situations, it's very real. I'm also not dismissing that fact. But our fear, and again, the acronym that I talked about, I think maybe even last week, the week before, false evidence appearing real, FEAR. Fear is just some idea about the future that we don't know is going to happen. And as long as we're lost and worried about future, we're actually missing opportunities to appreciate, so that's my comment back to you, Vince, is, I understand the fear and worry about retirement, but just try to get through each moment, each day without the fear and panic. Enjoy today. Because at whatever point down the road retirement is, if it's a week or a year or 5 years or whatever it is, it's not right now. And if we're lost in fear and anxiety right now, then we can't enjoy right now. So, what else? Questions or thoughts? Yeah.
Hey man, my name is James, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Hi, James.
Jeff. So my buddy has been in and out of rehab 12 times, and he was 70 days sober, and he just relapsed again. And I don't want to say goodbye to another friend permanently. I don't want him to die. How would you recommend trying to support him and show support from across the country?
Yeah. What was the last part you said? From across the country?
Yeah. I'm from New York. He's in New York, New Jersey.
Okay.
How can you be there for him without physically being there?
Yeah.
I don't want him to die.
Yeah. I'm just going to paraphrase for those virtually that didn't hear it. So your question is around your good buddy who's been clean, sober 70 days, just relapsed. You said he's been in and out of recovery. I think he's at 12 times.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, a lot. Actually, 12 is not that many. And your concern is that you don't want him to die. And so your question is around how do you support him? He's in New York, New Jersey, East Coast, and you're here. And your question is around how to support him during this time. First and foremost, I feel for you. I would say probably about 30, just so you know, if you're newer to the temple here, Dharma Bum Temple, I'd say roughly 30%, and that might even be conservative, of this community is in recovery. So we've always had, for the last 18 years, a very strong recovery community and practice within this space. So first and foremost, are you new to the Dharma Bum Temple?
Yeah, I'm in recovery too, man.
Okay, is this day one here, first time here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first and foremost, before I get to some specifics, is spend as much time here or anywhere in recovery environments where you can get support from them directly from people who've gone through those exact same issues. And, you'll get 30 different responses from 30 different people. And so I think for you to constantly surround yourself every single day with people, because as you said, you're in recovery, so this is a huge trigger for you. You're a wreck right now. I love you and all, but you're a wreck, and you should be, I get it. But you're trying to work on your recovery while you're concerned about your buddy's life. And so that's very fair and valid, and I feel for you. most important, first and foremost, is your recovery. Right? Because you want to support your buddy, which is beautiful. But if you're not alive, right? I've never been in recovery. I spent almost 30 years working in that environment, showing up to facilities where one day you're in group, the next day they're not there anymore, and they're never coming back. So I know it from that perspective. I just want to say that first, but never from your perspective. You must take care of yourself first. You want to support your buddy, and that's beautiful. But if you're gone, you cannot support him. You said him? Yeah. You cannot support him if you're gone. So that's the first thing. The second thing is how to support him. You just love him as much as possible. You reach out to him as much as possible. You let him know you're there for him as much as possible. But as you know, nobody else can do the work for you. Your buddy has to want to do it himself. And that is the scariest thing in the world because it's out of your control. And it's very similar to a question, that came up last week that I still am wrestling with in my head, and those who were here last week know what I'm talking about, but you just got to love him. Let him know you love him. Let him know you care about him. Let him know you're there for him. Do your best to find him resources, get him support, get him friends, get him family. I wish there was some hey, Buddhism, page 18. It's just Buddhist practice. The thing about Buddhism, especially for those who might be new, is it's not simple. It doesn't solve problems immediately. It doesn't give, it's not like a lot of religions that would just say, well, go pray and you'll be fine. That's not the Buddhist answer. Right? And this is no knock on other religious views or anything. I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm a Jewish kid, but this idea of just go pray for people doesn't necessarily save them. And chances are, if you're here at a Buddhist temple on Tuesday night, you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to say just go pray for him and he'll be fine. The Buddhist answer is, how can you send love and compassion to those that you're there for him? And the wisdom, Buddhism is about wisdom and compassion. The wisdom says, one, you've got to take care of yourself first or you can help nobody. And two, it's out of your control. But the fact that you love him and you want him safe and healthy is beautiful. And so, all of us are proud of you for that. And you're surrounded in a room, I swear to you, dude, with people that have been in your shoes. And continue to surround yourself with those people because you need that. So, again, that doesn't help much.
No, it did. Thank you, man.
Yeah, for sure. And if you need anything, let me know. I'm here. I'll give you my cell phone. You can text me before you jump.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm serious too. Yeah, there was a hand. Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to go back a little bit. Speaking of taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
and that fear of, being in the here and now. One of the things that I think I kind of am trying to balance out is how do I find purpose, but also a balance of, yes, I have goals, but I also need to really be in the moment of where I'm at. Because I cannot not plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I have a purpose that I do want to see through.
Sure.
But I am also in that conflict of having to be here now and needing the patience to be here now, I think, is a little bit of what's annoying my head.
No, I get it. Do you cook? Do you bake? Do you ever made any food? Okay, what do you like to make? Just give me one idea.
Pasta.
Pasta, all right.
Yeah.
Anything with a few more ingredients? Are you making it from scratch? I mean, I can work with that, but,
Vegetarian pasta panerosa.
All right, there you go. So that's a few more options, right?
Yeah.
My point is, anything you were going to make or bake or cook or prepare, there's ingredients, right? Everything. You got to get the pasta. You got to get, that's my kind of food, pasta and sauce, done. Right? 2 ingredients. But either way, you have ingredients that have to go into what you're making. And your purpose is to make food. That's your intention, right? You're making food to eventually eat food. You want to eat food. If you don't focus on each ingredient as you're making the food, you're going to be hungry. So this practice, especially if you're newer to it and you hear about staying present, it's not, this idea of staying present, you're still going. People often get this idea that I'm just going to stay present and do nothing the rest of my life but sit under a tree. Your ass is going to hurt if you do that. You're not just going to sit under a tree your whole life. You're going to plan your life. You should plan your life. You ever made pasta and had it taste really good?
Oh yeah.
You ever made pasta and had it taste really bad? A few times. I love the confidence in your pasta. Right? But the idea is that you still have to plan the ingredients and you don't know how it's going to turn out. This is life. Plan your life. Plan the next 100 years of your life. But you don't know what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow, let alone 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Staying present, being here, being now, is one of the most commonly misunderstood things in Buddhist teachings because it gives people this idea that they're supposed to do nothing with their life. Plan. Work your ass off. Prepare. And when it all falls to shit, learn to be okay with that also. Because that's going to happen. Right? Right? Go ahead.
I think I just, so I want to, okay, so I think I just clicked for me right now about what this whole practice is about.
Yeah.
It's for the meditation part. Because I noticed earlier you had said that, that our experience here is not to like drift off into space or anything like that, or into clouds or anything like that. It's just more focused on the breathing. And so for me, it's like, and then I also know that the mind obviously runs 24 hours a day, whether you're awake or asleep. And that, so it's never really stopping at all. And that's not the point of that. The point, I guess, is just to focus. And that you said right now, like, you're still doing the things that you are doing in your life. It's just more of like to have focus in what we're doing with our lives.
That's what mindfulness and concentration in the Eightfold Path, right? The last step of the Four Noble Truths. First thing he said, life is filled with suffering. Second is the cause, greed, anger, ignorance. The third is the ending of suffering, which is liberation, nirvana. The fourth is the Eightfold Path. Correct views, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. It's the last piece of the Eightfold Path. So the last piece of the Buddhist teachings around how to, I don't think of end suffering, but how to minimize suffering, right? Like as a practitioner, I don't think my suffering is going to end next week. My suffering will not end my entire life. But my practice is, can I suffer less today than I did yesterday? So in the process of working on suffering less today than I did yesterday, that requires a concentration, like you're talking about, in each thing I'm doing. Because then I can stay present with what I'm doing. Right? If you're making food and all of a sudden you stop thinking about the food you're making, probably not going to be so good. Right? So it's not about, like you said, using kind of my words, it's not the floating away, it's not getting lost in la la land.
Yeah.
It's being present and mindful in each moment. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think that's very important for me, especially for me being a recovering addict as well. Like I don't want to escape. I want to focus.
Correct.
So this is very this actually helps a lot with that.
Yeah, good.
Being present in the moments that I'm doing and not wanting to run away from it and just
Yeah, thank you. No, I think, and just to kind of emphasize again, I always say meditation is not an escape, but it's a healthier escape than what a lot of people have turned to throughout their lives. Yeah. So if you are using meditation as an escape, keep using it. Otherwise, you'll go back to the other stuff you were using. And we don't want that. But I want people to understand what you're saying is that it's not ultimately about escaping to something. But most people who start on meditation, Buddhist practice, any sort of spiritual journey, we're escaping from pain and suffering. So we come to this practice, and then you listen to some dude tell you this isn't an escape, right? Because ultimately it's not, it's learning how to not need to escape anymore. That's what we're working on, is no longer needing to escape from anything, but being with the conflict and the chaos and the challenges and the pain and the loss and the fear and the anxiety, being with all of that as temporary, as the Buddha called it, impermanent emotions that arise and then pass. They arise and then they pass. These are our emotions. And we will have crazy ranges of them our entire lives. And that is never going to change. Can we be with that? So nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be means as well, can I be with this anger? Can I be with this sadness? Can I be with this joy? Can I be with this happiness? But what you don't want to do, you ever been really angry and done smart things? No. So being with the anger, being present, being here, being now, being present with the anger means this is anger. I'm going to sit with this and just sit with it. It's not about fixing the anger. But when we don't act on the anger, we save ourselves a lot of problems. And others.
And suppression.
Right? Yeah.
I was just going to say, suppression also leads to bad outcomes.
Yeah, suppression leads to bad outcomes. Yes, it does. That's also not healthy. Yes. There's a question here. Let me read this for a second. Yeah. So there's a message here from Janelle, who's been around. God, Janelle, how long have you been around? Like 15 years? A long time, I feel like. But there's a message here from Janelle for James. It says, my heart goes out to the man in recovery. She lost her nephew to alcoholism in January. Please tell him, for me, to keep going, keep moving forward, and to know that that he is so loved and he's in the right place. So it's from Janelle.
Thank you.
He said, thank you. Yeah, this stuff is real. And again, that's where, like I said, I wish Buddhism was like, here, guys, this is all going to be easy. Just read a couple Tara Brach books and all your pain and suffering will go away. But again, going back to the title of Tara Brach's book, Radical Acceptance. It's accepting the pain and suffering and fear in a radical way, because that's what we have. And that's so hard for us. So, yeah.
I had a thought on all the future stuff, if I'm able to
share. Yeah, please.
I've had this like restless feeling for a couple of years now where I kind of just want to move and I don't know where to go. And then within the past couple months, I've kind of realized off of a botched plan to move to Italy that I keep making the future somehow more present, or more worth it than the present. More like, what gives that moment any more specialness than right now? And I realized if I move to Italy, I'm just going to be the same person in Italy.
Yeah.
You know? So whether it's retirement or moving to wherever, that moment is just going to be you in that moment. Just you then. So if you can't appreciate this one, what's going to happen then?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sucks, but
yes.
It's also kind of cool.
No, I mean, it does suck, and it does, like you said, it sucks and it's kind of cool. Like it's I don't know if you've heard this expression, but in essence what you said is a very common Buddhist expression. Ram Dass, I don't know if he was the first one who said it, but I think Ram Dass often gets kind of credited with this, wherever you go, there you are. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
I thought that was like Winnie the Pooh.
Could have been Winnie the Pooh also. Or could have been Ram Dass pretending to be Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. Ram Dass would have liked that. I mean, but yeah, that's so much of, and even in kind of our, kind of that very Western expression of, the grass is always greener, but it's so true that this idea of the future being better, and I'm just retelling what you said, I don't even need to say this, but this idea of telling ourselves that the future is going to be so great, we have to, this should be great. This is it. Again, back to nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be, everything beautiful, like right now. Because right now is the future from some past moment. I just want to be happy in the future. I want to be peaceful in the future. I want to enjoy the future. This is the future. This is the past. This is the future. This is the present. It is all, every single moment. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I hit a tooth, and I had to get the tooth taken out. And first of all, that's a crazy experience. But it got me thinking, the physical body can obviously be damaged, we all know this, but it can be damaged to a point where it can't repair.
Right.
While the soul manifests in a physical body, I guess, can it be permanently damaged and altered? That's crazy philosophical, but
It's not actually that crazy. I was just looking at how much time I have to sum up the Buddhist teachings on souls and rebirth and
I
all
always
that.
thought you just had Netflix. So.
Netflix, yeah. Did I'm watching Netflix? I have. So I'm going to close with this because we're just about out of time here. But your question around physical body can be damaged, and then your question is through your experience with a tooth. But your question is, can the soul be damaged? So to sum this up briefly, in Buddhist teachings, there is no soul. So that's a simple answer. There's nothing to damage, right? The big distinction between Hindu teachings and Buddhist teachings, and I'll take about 2-3 minutes on this and then we'll close, is that when the Buddha was alive as a Hindu, right, how he grew up, pretty much everybody at that time in India, 2,500 years ago, 500 years before Christ, for the most part, they all believed in rebirth, reincarnation, continuation of consciousness, some form of something going on. And they also had endless beliefs in Hindu gods and goddesses and all that kind of stuff. And so one big difference when the Buddha began to teach was that they called it Atman, which was soul, and An-Atman, which was no soul. So what the Buddha said was, it's not this permanent like soul that is ours and mine that gets continued on. What he said is that the entire experience is empty of any permanent self and existence, that everything is always changing. And again, this is very difficult to sum up in 2 minutes, but think of, so the wooden pews, right? When you think of a wooden pew, what do you do? What are you doing on the pews right now? Sitting on it. When you came in and sat on the pew, that was about it, right? But what does the wooden pew come from?
A tree.
A tree, and what else?
Carbon.
Earth, carbon, sunlight. What else? Water? Dirt? How did the pews get here? Because Emanuel Swedenborg's community built this temple this building in 1927. Why was it built in 1927 at Carpenters? Emanuel Swedenborg lived in the 1700s, right? So how many of you came in on this night, sat down on that pew, and said thank you to Emanuel Swedenborg? Nobody. Because we just used the pew as something to sit on. So that, in essence, is what the Buddha was saying, is that everything is always changing. There is no permanent anything. So there is no soul. There is what is known as alaya vijnana, storehouse consciousness. There's consciousness that continues. But the consciousness is not damaged. To your question about is it damaged? The consciousness is not damaged or not damaged. The consciousness is just a collection of our karma. Meaning everything we thought, everything we said, and everything we did is a storehouse. It's just what's happening. It's not about it's good or bad or right or wrong. It's not about it's damaged or fixed. It's just experiences. And so when the physical body dies, which it will, maybe tonight, maybe in 100 years, but at some point in time, our physical body is gone. That consciousness that is inside our body, according to Buddhist teachings, will continue on. And at the time of physical form being reborn, a consciousness will enter. But that consciousness is not us. It's not Jeff. It's not me. It's not mine. Just like I'm sitting here right now, this is not my consciousness. I am a physical body that came into this world 50 years ago and has this consciousness that came into it. And I have now added to that story, to that consciousness. And then when I die, when this physical body dies, that story is going to continue on. So don't screw it up. So, no pressure. I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to Pam during her time of sickness, and to Mark and his family and friends who suffer at this time. And to James and your buddy during his time of suffering. May they all be at peace. May we all be at peace and free from suffering. All right, a few quick announcements before you all head out. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma Bum. We opened up this temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students, we're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense to those who show up. Every night we have different practices going on, different people leading from a different Buddhist tradition. Every Thursday, 4:30, we do, I think, probably one of the best things around here. It's a food redistribution program. We prepare gourmet vegetarian meals, also known as peanut butter and jelly, and we feed people who sleep on the street. So anytime you think your life sucks and you kind of lack gratitude for all you have, feed people who sleep on the sidewalk, and tends to put things into perspective. Other than that, nothing out of the ordinary. I will announce one thing we're looking for. Our food redistribution program, which is every Thursday and has been for the last 15, 16 years. One thing we do Thursday morning at about 7 a.m. is Bread and Sea donates leftover bread. And so we've been picking up for probably 10 years all the bread from Bread and Sea every Thursday morning. It's about 2 big trash bags full of bread. We have a couple people, 3 now it's down to. We've lost a few people. So we have a rotation of people that pick up bread on Thursday morning. And we'd love to add like 2 or 3 more people. And you'd probably be responsible for picking up bread maybe about once a month. Yeah, about once a month. It's right here in Hillcrest. You go there about 7 a.m. and then you bring it here. So if anybody's interested in getting on the spam list and joining another groupie to help pick up bread about once a month on a Thursday,